Hey, DJ. Ready? DJ, where you at? What the heck? Okay.
We're a couple of guys who like to watch movies, cinema nerds who made it our duty to make a show where we break down, discuss, and review. We're the men who watch movies.
Hello, everybody. We're back, and welcome to another episode of The Men Who Watch Movies. We took a little break, but we're always here for you. My name is Alec.
And my name's DJ, the Movie Man Wagner, also known as the COE of the Men Who Watch Movies!
Yeah.
Woo!
And we have another great episode for you today. It's October finally. And
it's October.
Halloween is upon us, so we're going to...
It's Halloween! It's Halloween!
So we're going to kick off a series of spooky movies for you. So this whole month leading up to Halloween, we're going to talk about our favorite spooky movies and some that are not so favorite of ours. Starting with Rob Zombie's The Munsters. Ooh, that was we'll get into that.
Thumbs down.
What is? Yeah,
I kind of give it a thumbs down. It
Well,
was kind of. I thought it was going to be serious and whatnot, but they made it comical because Rob Zombie makes horror films and whatnot. But I have no idea what was going on.
oh yeah, it was a
The
mess.
dialogue was weird.
Yeah, it was. I don't know what I just saw.
With Butch Patrick, awesome.
Yeah, we'll get into all that later. But first, before we divulge into the mess that was the Rob Zombie Munsters movie, we're gonna get into a little bit of the usual, a little bit of movie news in
This week in movie news.
All right, we have a lot of good movie news for you this week. We have some exciting stuff in the world of Marvel and other movie news as well. We're not just all about Marvel, but we do love a good Marvel movie, right?
Oh yes, we do.
A little bit of bad news in the Marvel universe. Bassam Tariq, who is set to direct Marvel's Blade, has now dropped out of the film.
What?
And it only has 2 months before they start production. So they got to figure out who's going to be the director now of Blade.
Is it going to be Wesley Snipes?
That would be awesome. I mean, to have Wesley Snipes involved. He was the original Blade.
Oh, yeah.
He kicked off the whole,
He's
superhero.
a kick-ass Blade.
Right? Those movies are great. And a lot of people, didn't know that was the first wave of Marvel movies. People think X-Men kicked off, the Marvel movie craze.
Oh, yeah.
But Blade was first. And got to give him props for that. That would be cool if he was involved, but I don't know. I think they're going to get...
Who's the other actor again? Mahershala Ali, who's going to play the new Blade?
Yeah.
Mahershala Ali?
Yeah, he's going to be the new Blade. So now they're just looking for a new director. So hopefully they can get someone, who's worthy of Blade, bringing him to life and doing it right. So, we'll see. We'll see what they can pull together.
Oh, yeah, it's a little different, ladies and gentlemen, but it's still going strong.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Black Panther 2, the runtime has been revealed. It's one of the longer Marvel superhero movies. It's going to be 2 hours and 41 minutes. I'm really looking forward to this. I don't know if you've seen any of the images released of Namor's costume. It looks epic. Have you seen that?
Wakanda Forever?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing the trailer.
Yeah, but have you seen any of the costume reveals of Namor?
Yeah, badass,
Yeah. It's very like Mayan and Aztec expired. I can't speak. Inspired, and he has like the full-on headdress. It just looks badass, and I'm excited to see what they can pull off. It's going to be tough without Chadwick Boseman. Of course, it looks like they're doing a little tribute to him.
R.I.P.
Oh, yeah.
Chadwick. We're going to miss you, buddy.
Definitely. I mean, what a big loss.
yeah.
But, he would want them to press forward.
Yeah.
And it looks like, they're going to, introduce some kind of storyline that talks about his absence. So we'll see how they deal with that. But I trust in Ryan Coogler as the director, and his vision, and he did great with the first one, and hopefully this one is going to be even better, right?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that.
I am definitely looking forward to that, but for those who haven't seen the She-Hulk movies, She-Hulk TV series, I would highly recommend it.
Oh yeah, definitely. They did a little bait and switch on, with the next episode. But you know what? I don't care because the
no spoiler alerts.
Yes,
no spoiler alerts.
A little bit of spoilers for She-Hulk. Not to get too off topic.
Not to get too off topic.
But they've been teasing the introduction of Daredevil. One of the last episodes, they showed She-Hulk. Jen Walters. She went to get a new suit from this guy who designs clothing for superheroes.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. That was pretty awesome.
And they did a little quick reveal of Daredevil's helmet.
Wow.
Inside of a box, right? And, we assumed that he was going to show up in the next episode, but the next episode was a wedding episode, but it was still hilarious. You know what? I don't mind. This isn't Daredevil's show. This is She-Hulk's show. So whatever.
However, there might be a mysterious villain in She-Hulk, but who's it going to be?
That's right. They're teasing some mystery villain. So
Who is it?
We'll have to wait and see. So
the mysterious villain of Intelligentsia, or whatever it's called.
That weird, that website.
Yeah.
For a bunch of man babies or something like that.
What's it called?
Intelligentsia?
Intelligentsia, yes. Yeah. Intelligentsia.
I think that weird dude is going to be a villain that she went on a date with. Remember, he was asking her, like, can your skin be pierced by vibranium?
Oh.
And she said, that's weird.
What?
Remember, and then later on, then someone tried to pierce her skin with a needle. So I think he's involved somehow.
Well, he has to be.
He seems like a nerdlinger, but
weirdo creep.
I think he's sinister.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. But moving on to our movie news.
Moving on.
Paramount. They were set to make another Star Trek film. I don't know if you heard about that. I know you're a Star Trek fan, right?
Oh, hell yeah. I'm a Trekker fan.
But it's been put on hold. Now, the film was set to be directed by WandaVision's Matt Shankman. But as we know, he moved on to Fantastic Four after the original director dropped out. It was planned for a December 2023 release, but since he's moved on to Fantastic Four, they've stopped production on the latest installment of the Star Trek franchise. So what do you think about that? A little bit of
I think it's a little
lame.
Lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is, but I mean,
this is the maddest I've ever been.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to another Star Trek movie.
I was too. I'm a Star Trek fanatic. I love that stuff.
I know that.
William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelly. May he rest in peace.
Let me ask you a big question.
Yep.
Kirk or Spock?
Kirk.
I mean, Kirk or Picard? Sorry.
Kirk.
Ooh, you're an OG fan.
Yeah. But, of course, I like, the bald man, so I guess,
I thought you would have gone with Picard for sure.
The Shakespearean actor,
I'll go
Mr.
with
Picard himself, Mr. Patrick Stewart himself, the great thespian himself,
there
and
you go.
the
I was
most
waiting for
Shakespearean man ever.
Oh, yeah.
Woohoo!
I'd buy that for $1.
Definitely. Yeah, I would have to go with Picard myself. Anyway, yeah, so that kind of sucks that they had to put it on hold. So hopefully they can find a new director soon. Marvel stole away their director. But I am really looking forward to Fantastic Four, so hopefully he does great with that.
Instead of Josh Trank, thumbs down.
Yeah. We should do a review of that movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
It definitely wouldn't be a guilty pleasure movie. It's just a bad movie. Kind of like our movie today. Not to get ahead of ourselves.
Not to get too off topic, but it was a horrible movie.
And then I don't know if you've heard the big news. Back to Marvel again, because most of our news is apparently Marvel today. I don't know. You might have heard about it. It's kind of a big deal. It's news about Deadpool 3. Have you heard?
Oh, I heard about it. Is Ryan Reynolds gonna reprise his role?
Yes, but there's someone else reprising a role.
Hugh Jackman?
You've heard.
Yeah.
You've heard about it. Okay, I was going to surprise you, but now I didn't. Work out.
Well, you know, I mean,
But for our viewers who haven't probably, I mean, you probably heard already, but we're just going to reiterate it because this is movie news.
Yep, it's movie news.
They just revealed that Hugh Jackman's back, baby. The Jackman. He's set to return as the iconic Wolverine in a third installment of the Deadpool franchise. It was recently teased by Ryan Reynolds. Have you seen the teaser video for it? It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Where Ryan Reynolds is sitting on the couch and he's like, "We don't have any ideas." And then Hugh Jackman is just randomly walking by in the background. He's like, "Hey, Hugh, do you want to be Wolverine again?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, Ryan." And he just walks away. And then
Does he
you
have
see
his
the
Australian accent,
epic.
or does he have his American accent?
He had his Australian accent, but when he plays Wolverine, he's going to have this American accent.
That rough exterior of a muscle man. We're glad that Hugh Jackman is back as Wolverine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Buff and awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's mostly due to, of course, they plan on eventually recasting all the X-Men, but right now they're in kind of limbo. Like, a lot of people are complaining that they bought Fox to use X-Men and they haven't used them yet, and they're like, "What's waiting so long? What's taking so long?" But it's because they're in limbo because they don't have the rights to change the actors yet because they're still under contract, even though they own the rights to X-Men. They have to use the same actors up until I forget, like 2025 or something. So that's why they brought back Professor X, what's his name, Patrick Stewart as Professor X, and they're bringing back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine because they're still under contract and they can use them. They just can't recast all the X-Men yet.
Now, I heard this rumor, just rumor news and stuff like that, but I heard that they were going to cast another person for Professor Xavier. Now, some of you may know this actor. His name is Giancarlo Esposito.
I've heard those rumors. He would be great.
But actually, they were going to cast a new Magneto, and guess what's going to play him?
Who? I haven't heard that one.
Denzel Washington.
Really?
But it's kind of different because, he doesn't have the...
I'm assuming these are all rumors, right?
Oh, it's just rumor, of course.
Okay.
I don't know how it would work, but I just hope that, whoever gets picked for Professor Xavier or Magneto, thumbs up.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to see that. I love their dynamic, and especially the way they were depicted in the OG X-Men movies. I mean, it's going to be hard to beat, but I know they can do it. And especially if you have, powerhouses, like Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito as
sorry.
Gus Fring on Breaking Bad.
He was great. I feel like he could definitely pull off a great Professor X.
Oh, he could. I mean, he has that quality of nature. He has
nature.
A nice quality, but he is very, very into his character as Gus Fring as we remember him.
Yeah.
What a wonderful character.
Well, as we bring our movie news to a close, we have one last thing. Sadly, Louise Fletcher, Academy Award-winning actress known for playing Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, she has sadly passed away at the age of 88.
She plays a nurse?
Yeah, have you seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Yep.
It's a good movie, great movie.
She passed away?
Yeah,
Oh.
Sadly, yes.
That's sad.
Definitely.
Wow, I had no idea. I mean, I thought these legends were going to live, but, is what it is.
That's the way of the world.
That's the way of the world,
unfortunate,
folks.
but it makes us appreciate life.
Unfortunate, but it makes us appreciate life.
That's exactly what I just said. And this wraps up this week in movie news.
Yeah.
Now, let's begrudgingly get on to our review of the Munsters.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, this review is sort of different. For those who have not seen the original TV series Munster TV show, this Netflix series is highly
Wackadoo.
Weird.
Okay, so Rob Zombie. Yeah. So Rob Zombie, he's known for like pretty gory stuff, right? I mean,
he's known for gory stuff.
And
I like those Halloween movies that he did. Very, very gruesome.
Really,
very,
yeah.
very
A lot of people
good.
didn't like him. A lot of people weren't a fan of the reboot Halloween movies. I remember we actually went to a panel at San Diego Comic-Con where we saw him there. I think you were there with us.
Him. Yeah,
I like to brag about shit like that.
Isn't he the tall guy
makes me
or
seem
the one with the
cultured.
bearded guy?
He was the bearded guy. He's known for his epic
He's tall?
beard.
He's tall.
I don't think he's. I don't know. I don't think he's particularly tall, but he has the epic beard.
Tyler Mane is tall.
Oh yeah, that's right. Tyler Mane, who also played
Sabretooth.
Sabretooth. I remember we saw him there at Comic-Con, just walking around the floor in the exhibit hall, and we took a picture of him. He didn't look too happy.
Why? Because he's like happy, or
because I think he was just talking with somebody that he knew, and he didn't seem happy that we were taking pictures of him. I have a picture. I'll post it up here, and he looks angry at me for taking a picture of him. But
don't
yeah,
be angry,
we saw
Tyler
them.
Mane.
Anyway, now that we're getting too off topic here, not to get too off topic.
Let's get too off topic.
But yeah. Anyway, so Rob Zombie's known for more gory stuff, more like gory things, and I can't speak today.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Yeah, but this one he went in a completely different direction.
Oh yeah, very, very different. That is so.
Yeah, I get what he was trying to do, but I feel like it just fell really flat. I don't know. Because I get he was trying to match the tone of the original series, but he went completely beyond the goofiness of the series into like bizarre territory.
Very bizarre, goofy.
Like okay, the original series, it has camp to it. It was what was it, 60s, I think.
60s, something like that.
But they went beyond the 60s camp of the original show, and then it went into a whole different territory that like Batman went into. Batman was a whole nother level of camp.
Oh yeah,
because the Munsters, in fact, like the original series is actually made by the producers of Leave It to Beaver.
What?
And so
yeah.
once you kind of see how like if you look at a lot of the Eddie Munster stuff, like he reminds me of the Beav, and he even talks like him. He's like, I forget what this, the way he talks, and like a little kid from back then. But it was very patterned after that, and like a typical family life with a twist of that they're monsters, kind of similar to Addams Family. But I feel like whereas the Munsters were like a typical American family that happened to be monsters, they took it and made it like extra super campy with like all these bright crazy lights and and then
very campy and bright.
And then they were like playing overly cartoony versions of the characters where I feel like they didn't really play it over the top.
I just wish they would just stick on topic. Stick on topic.
They really went super over the top to where they were like Looney Tunes.
Very Looney Tunes.
But if you watch the original series, they weren't like Looney Tune characters. They were like the typical family dynamic that you would see in a show from back then. With the husband and the wife and the kid and the crazy living relative and whatnot. There was no need to go that far. It just went in a place that made me want to like gag. It was so like bizarre.
Very bizarre.
And the time period was all over the place because I get, he was going for that retro feel. But then he had like, he had like 70s references, 60s references, 50s references, not even like 80s stuff going on. It was just a bizarre like hodgepodge. I don't even know what time period I was in, and it was very jarring.
It was very jarring. I wasn't even born in the era, but if I was, then I mean, I was born in the 90s, so
Random.
Not to get too off topic, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I get what you're saying. Like it was just threw me for a loop. Like
it just threw me for a big loop because I didn't know what they were gonna do. I mean, like when I heard about the Munsters film, it was on Netflix. I thought it was gonna be like a live action movie, but it turned out to be a comical.
I mean, it was live action,
movie.
but it was originally supposed to be in theaters. Remember, I think we announced it on Movie News, and they made it into a straight to Netflix movie, which was a great choice because I would not pay to see this in theaters.
No,
I would be very disappointed.
I would be very disappointed
Anyway,
too.
so the movie starts with like the two. You see these two guys going out and digging up graves, looking for bodies, very Frankenstein-esque. In fact, Munsters, it was owned by Universal, so they actually used a lot of the Universal characters. So I mean, Herman Munster He was a direct representation of the Boris Karloff Frankenstein, which that look was copyrighted by Universal, and that's why they were legally able to use that Boris Karloff Frankenstein look because
and
it was owned by Universal.
Fred Gwynn, who played Herman Munster, may he rest in peace. Wonderful actor who played a farmer on Pet Sematary.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That
and he
was
played
him.
a judge on My Cousin Vinny. Remember?
Oh yeah, and his famous quotes: "Counselor, how do your clients plead?"
Yeah. My favorite line from My Cousin Vinny is when he's talking about the two youths. He's got two youths.
Two youths.
What's a ute?
Okay.
Utes.
What's a ute?
Anyway.
The two youths.
Not to get too off topic.
Not to get too off topic.
Anyway, so we see a couple of the guys grave digging, looking for body parts. Turns out it's basically he's like the Frankenstein character. He's the guy who creates Herman Munster, and his assistant. He's supposed to be like an Igor type. What's his name? It's something ridiculous.
Oh God.
Let me see.
It's, something.
Yeah. He has like this really bizarre. They just like it's like a child names these characters. Let me see here. I have it in my notes.
Yeah, so go check out that Munsters show on Netflix, ladies and gentlemen. It's weird, but very, very entertaining. I tell you what. Blah. Well, I'll tell you what, Peggy, that Munsters movie was so blah.
Yes. Yeah, so anyway, when we start the movie, we see these two guys. They're like grave digging, looking for parts. It's like the original Frankenstein movie.
It's like Pet Sematary also because they're
kind of, yeah.
Grave digging.
But yeah, it's strictly ripped off from the original Frankenstein movie. You have, in the movie, we had Henry Frankenstein looking for body parts. And you had, Igor helping him out. Remember, he was cutting like the dead man on the noose, and they were stealing parts to make the Frankenstein's monster. And this one's the same thing. You have his name is also Henry, the doctor that creates Herman, and then his assistant named Floop. And it's like a child named.
I have no idea what the
I don't know what
that was, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
What?
It's a random. It's like I said. It's like a child named the character.
Random.
His name is Floop, and he's like the dumb fat guy assistant. He has a hump on his back. He's like
Igor.
a hunchback, kind of like Igor.
Mr. Igor himself.
Yeah, and so they're basically
Looks
looking
like
for body part. They come
Coltrane with
across
a big beard.
They come across the grave of a famous pianist named Franz Pennywhacker. Yeah. This is what we're dealing with here, and the grave's empty, and they open it up, and then Floop, he's
Grave's empty. The spooky.
yeah, he opens it up, and he's like, "Looks like it's empty," and then Henry's like, "You think?" Okay, they remind me the way this is filmed. It reminds me of like a late '90s like ABC Family show, like remember they briefly did like an Addams Family like on ABC Family.
Oh yeah, it
reminds me of that. Or even has like have you seen the show Big Bad Beetleborgs?
I am. And it took place. Somewhere between like.
I'll have to show you a clip, and it takes place in like a spooky mansion with like a bunch of like typical like monsters. It reminds me of the way it's filmed. It's like super brightly colored and goofy. Like everyone's just goofy as fuck, and they have no like real humanistic characteristics.
Oh yeah, I mean, I kind of heard of it. Very.
But it reminds me of like a total like kids show, like that you would see on like Saturday morning. Like it's written with the intelligence of a child. So anyway, so they're looking for Franz Pennywhacker's phalanges. They're going to cut off his fingers and put them on the monster because he wants to create like the perfect being. And anyway, they find out that he turned into a zombie, and then what's his name, Floop? He asks like, "Is it true that you zombies eat brains?" And then he's like, "Oh, yes, I enjoy." He said something like, "I
enjoy eating a cerebellum with caviar."
A nice grilled cerebellum with a side of chips. And then, Henry doesn't want to deal with his bullshit. He like hits him in the head with like a hammer and kills him. And then they steal his fingers, and they move on to, stealing, grave robbing other parts.
Monster.
And for some reason, he has a floop, or I think that's his name, right? Like pulling the carriage instead of having a horse. But then he's telling him, "Hurry! We can't waste any time." But then it's like, why are you having him? He's slow as fuck. He's a fat dude. And you're having him like you don't want to waste any time, but you're having him pull the carriage. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. This is what we're dealing with here, guys.
Yep.
And gals. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
Cut to this movie just cuts whatever the fuck it wants to.
Yep.
It has several stories going at the same time that culminate in the ending. So we cut to Grandpa Munster.
Yep.
He's like a count.
Played by Daniel Roebuck.
Is that who that is?
I think it was, yeah.
I think whoever he is, I know he's been in a lot of Rob Zombie productions.
Yeah, well, Daniel Roebuck, I know who he is.
I gotta admit, he's my favorite character in this whole show. Like the sass that he brings is perfect, and I think he plays it just perfectly. Like it's not too over the top. I mean, it goes over the top where it needs to.
But it's very, very funny and very, very legendary.
Yeah, and then just like you can tell he just didn't want to put up with anyone's bullshit. And some of the commentary that he has about, Herman or whatever character he's dealing with, it's perfect for the commentary of this movie. I feel like I can overlay a sound clip of him, and it would describe this movie perfectly. So I'll go ahead and probably put that throughout. But anyway, we see Grandpa Munster here. He wakes up in his coffin. He has some back problems. He's an old man. He's like, once you reach like 300, everything just starts falling apart. And then he has his butler, Igor, which is funny because, you think the Frankenstein's doctor assistant would be named Igor. But anyway, Igor is his assistant. He cracks his back and helps him out there, What do you think about that?
Oh, it was very, very awesome. Just very, very funny. A little over the top, but still creative and still funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was a weird sentence that he said there.
Very
when he was cracking
weird.
Grandpa's back, he's like, "I'm gonna get that back straighter than Aunt Helga's knickers." Yeah, he says, "I'm gonna get that back as straight as my great Aunt Helga's knickers." Like what is it like? What is this joke? Like
weird dialogue.
These jokes are for children. Like what does that mean? Like why is her underwear straight? Like what does that mean? Like
I have no idea what the fuck that means.
I don't get it. Does she press it really? I don't know. I don't know what that joke. There's like they throw out jokes that mean nothing, and then maybe it would make like a child laugh. Anyway, you can tell I don't like it, right?
Yeah, it's a little different.
Anyway, Lily, she's trying to find a suitor, and the grandpa has her on a date with the one and only Count Orlok from Nosferatu, and he's just a big cornball as well.
Yep.
And he's like trying to impress Lily. He's talking about his pet rats. He has photos of his pet rats, and I don't know. I just didn't find it funny at all. The makeup was great. I love the makeup for Count Orlok. You could tell he was probably his eyes look irritated from those big lenses, contact lenses.
I can tell his eyes were.
Yeah, it looked like they were watery. I don't think that was on purpose. But anyway, he was trying to impress her, but you could tell she wasn't very impressed. Lily, the one and only Lily, was played by Rob Zombie's wife, Sherry Moon Zombie.
Sherry Moon Zombie.
And I got to say, she was pretty bad. I don't like shitting on people and everything like that, but
she's a good actress.
I feel like
haven't seen her in any movies.
She was so over the top when the original.
She looks like Morticia.
When the original Lily Munster. Actually, fun fact: there was a different character before Lily Munster. She had a different name. It was something Munster, and then they actually she actually looked exactly like Morticia. And this was in the unaired pilot. And then by the time the series got picked up, they replaced her with Lily Munster, who they changed her outfit to look a little more unique. I thought it's just a little fun fact that I found out. So where was I? Oh yeah, Lily Munster. I feel like the original Lily Munster in the TV show, she was like the typical, sitcom mom of that era. But then I feel like, Rob Zombie's wife played her way over the top. Like everyone just like at an 11, and it's just too much. Like there's no one that plays it subtle. and it's disappointing, and it makes my brain hurt.
Yep.
I don't know, she's talking like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, where she's like has that very like floofy voice. She's like, oh my, ooh. And she always has her hands up. I don't know what she's doing, but she doesn't know what to do with her hands half the time. She always has them up like this. Ooh, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like she watched the intro of the show, because she does that in the original show. You could see when she walks out of the hole in the door that when Herman breaks through the door, she kind of has her hands up like that, and she's doing like a thing with her hands. And it's like she saw that clip and she's like, okay, that's how she acts the whole show. And so she just walks around with her hands up all the time. It's just bizarre. I don't know. It's like she knows nothing about the show or even bother to watch it.
Weird dialogue.
And anyway, so she's not interested in Count Orlok. It was just, the grandpa wants her to go with Orlok because he's rich and he's, well to do. But she's not attracted to him, and it all comes to a head when he takes her to that, like, I think it's when they go back to his place, right?
Yep.
And it says like, when this crypt is rocking, don't come a knocking, and he's like doing this weird little dance to like techno music, and it was very. It wasn't even 60s. It was like weird like techno like you're going like full disco over there. It wasn't even like 60s or 70s. It was like techno music from a club, and he had like little like what do you call those things, like streamers, or what do you call it, like confetti. He had like a little confetti canyon, neon lights, and he was trying to impress her by doing a little dance, and she was like, okay, I'm out of here.
We did the mash.
So she doesn't want anything to do with Count Orlok or his rats. Anyway, we cut to a new character. So this is a third jump to something completely different. We have this character named Zoya. So she's some kind of like medium or something, right?
Yep. She looks like a fortune teller, but she's
fortune teller. She reminds me of the character from the Wolfman.
Yep.
Where she's talking about the wolf's bane and blah, whatever. And so Zoya, she was the former wife of what's his name, the Grandpa Munster. And she basically summoned Lily's brother, who was a wolf man. She summoned him to her place of business, and basically,
What?
Yeah, she summoned him over to her place. Basically, she's trying to get revenge on the grandpa because they had a bad breakup, I guess, and she wants to get ownership of his castle so she can turn it into a casino. Very random plot. Random. Yeah. So she's trying to get control of the castle, and so he's trying to get the deed signed over into Zoya's name, and because and then the reason why he's doing this for her is because he owes her money. Apparently, he's been borrowing money from Zoya because he's a deadbeat, and he's like the black sheep of the family. And he's kind of beholden to Zoya because he owes her for this, so she can kind of control him in the literal sense too, because she's like using spells on him and shit. Anyway, Lily, like I said, she had wanted nothing to do with what's his face, Count Orlok. And so she goes home all disappointed. And then later on, we see Grandpa watching TV at home, and he sees the news thing about a death of this very bad comedian named Shecky von Rathbone. Then these names are killing me, man. Apparently, he's a goofball comedian, and then. This is just bad writing. And simultaneously, his brother, Shelley von Rathbone, he's like some brilliant mind. He also passed away, and they're keeping their bodies at the same morgue. And the news anchor, for some reason, she looks like this very like 70s. What are you doing over there?
Are you serious?
You having fun? You want to do karaoke? I know you want to do karaoke. We'll get into some karaoke later. When we talk about the Sonny and Cher scene. Anyway, yeah. So and there's like this very 70s looking like news anchor lady, and she's like, oh, and only a moron would confuse those two at the morgue or something like that, which is like a blatant setup for the whole Dr. Frankenstein thing where Igor gets the brain confused. So we have Floop. He's sent in to go get what's his name, Shelley von Rathbone's brain, because he's a brilliant mind, and he, of course, Henry's building the perfect man, and he wants that brilliant brain in the body of the monster, and instead, there's of course, just like in Frankenstein, there's a mix-up with the brain, and he ends up getting the brain of Shecky von Rathbone, the idiot, the awful comedian, and that's where Herman gets his brain from. It's just very, very bad setup and everything like that. Anyway. The doc wants to name the monster Uranus for some reason. It was just a bad butthole joke. What did you think about that?
I thought it was funny. Uranus is funny.
You would think it's funny, would you?
Well, yeah, because
yeah,
Uranus.
They just go for the easy jokes, like
the easiest jokes.
He wants to name him Uranus, and Uranus sounds like a butthole, and then Floop's like, I don't know about that. Like, you're gonna set him up for a life of ridicule. And then he pulls out the name Herman, out of his ass, seemingly. He's like, how about we name him Herman? And he's like, why
Herman Munster, like the cheese Munster.
Yeah, so he names him Herman
cheese.
Munster after like Munster cheese, and then because he's eating a sandwich at the time, and then he names him Herman because his pet spider was named Herman. This is the genius writing we're working with.
Genius.
I don't feel bad for shitting on the writing, but it's bad, and they should feel bad.
Well, you know what I mean. You know what? It's a different concept in the Munster, but I like the original one better. So, thumbs up the original.
Yeah, the original comes out shining compared to this. Yeah. So there's of course, there's like that typical dramatic creation scene, where the doctor's like, more lightning, and then and the Floop is like, you're gonna kill us, we can't do more lightning, and he's like, more lightning. And then of course at first it seems like the monster is still dead. He wasn't able to pump life into him, and he's sad and he starts weeping like a cartoon character. And then Floop off screen, he's like, it's alive, and you think he's talking about the monster, but randomly he has a pet cockroach that he thought was dead, and it turned out to be alive. He's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm talking about my pet cockroach.
That was a disgusting scene.
It's just ridiculous.
It's alive. It's alive.
The simplicity of these jokes are just ridiculous. Like, and then not
very
in a good way.
Ridiculous.
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way.
Yeah, and then so he gets mad and he smashes the cockroach, and he's like, "Oh no, wait, it's still alive. This thing's pretty,
mighty fist.
This thing's pretty resilient, or some shit like that." Oh boy.
Cockroach versus the mighty
Anyway,
fist.
so then it turns out that he is alive. Actually, the monster ends up waking up, and they go to debut him on a show called Good Morning Transylvania. All right, because this is where it takes place. They're in Transylvania, and then Henry debuts Herman.
Welcome to Transylvania. Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Free blood and free cookies for the children.
Wow. Okay. This movie has brought out the crazy in all of us. Yeah. Anyway, so Henry debuts his creation, Herman Munster, on a show. It's supposed to be like an old, talk show. What is it called? It's called, like I said, it's called Good Morning Transylvania, and. Basically, he thinks he has the brilliant mind of that guy put in his brain, and then he tries to have him play piano, and he just ends up smashing it, and he tries to have him speak, and he ends up doing some bad like stand-up routine. They had some pretty funny jokes. Like there was one it was like, oh, my friend drank some turpentine and died. He's like, that was a bad that was like a bad end, but he had a great finish. Yeah. Yeah, and then it was much to Henry's dismay. He ended up being disappointed, right?
Yep. Very, very disappointed.
But the host of the show seemed pretty amused. He's like, "Oh yeah, this guy's great," and he goes off dancing. And at this point, Henry wants nothing to do with Herman. But Floop becomes his manager, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They want to turn him into like some kind of like triple threat. Like they want to make him like a singer, actor, dancer. Like he's like, and then like at one point, like Herman is what do you call it? He's doing like some kind of club. He's doing like punk music, which is weird. Like I don't know. Like I said, it's like a weird range of time periods. Like I don't know, because like they give it like a really strong like 60s vibe, but then they have like 70s stuff and late 70s punk and 80s. I don't know. I don't know where I'm at in the timeline here, but it's at the point where he's on the Good Morning Transylvania, where Lily's watching TV and she sees him and falls in love, and she's hot for Herman and she wants to meet him, much to the grandpa's dismay. What are you doing? You're having a lot of fun over there, right?
It's Halloween.
Halloween is bringing out the best in you.
Goblins, have some fun.
That is correct.
Yeah, baby.
Anyway, man, I totally lost track.
You know what it means.
Yeah, so she sees him on Good Morning Transylvania, and she's gone head over heels. Now she has to meet this guy. She thinks he's beautiful, and yeah. Anyway, they do this weird thing in the movie where it's like I said, it's like a cartoon, and in all the worst ways. And like every time like someone has like a strong emotion, the background goes to like a very flat color with some like bold graphics on it. So like when Lily falls in love, graphics. it's like a pink background with like red hearts like floating all around. And like it reminds me of like anime. Like in anime shows when like have like the background goes all simple and it just has like some flashing graphic. Kind of like that, you know. It was just very bizarre choice. Or like when the grandpa's mad, like the background turns blue and it has like all these weird like squiggles. I don't know. It's just weird. It doesn't fit the aesthetic of the show. I don't recall them doing anything like that on the original show. And I mean, not that they have to follow it to a T, but it just seemed super campy. Like I said, it goes into Batman.
Super campy.
Like Adam West Batman campy
the Adam West Batman. Thumbs up. R.I.P. to Adam West. Yeah. We miss you, buddy.
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, like I said, by this time Floop is his manager, and he's doing like what do you call it? Like punk rock at this club. It's a play on the Whiskey A Go-Go. It's called the Zombie A Go-Go, I think, right?
Yep.
And then so Lily goes to meet him there, and then she runs into her brother, who's like of course she's not a big fan of his because he's a freeloader, but he ends up pointing her to where Herman's at, and they meet for the first time, and it's weird because it's like instantaneous love. Like they don't know each other. She just seen him on TV, and then like he falls in love with her instantly, and like he's head over heels for her like right away. And then they're trying to schedule a date. Then he goes, there's like this gag where he closes the door. He's like, oh yeah, he's trying to play it cool, like he's some big hotshot Hollywood guy. And he's like, oh yeah, let me see if I can fit you in my schedule. And he closes the door, and behind the door you just hear him going, oh, she likes me. And then he opens the door all cool and collected again, and it's like,
yep,
oh, wow.
Very, very different, very, very modern, but still,
yeah. And it's like, oh,
they're respecting the '60s Munster TV series.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I can pencil you in for tomorrow, whatever. And then and then in his notebook, he has like a heart. It says Lily and Herman, and has an arrow through it. It's like they just met. Anyway, I get it. It's whatever. They're going super cartoony with it. You okay over there? So what do you think in the movie about this point?
Oh, I think it's very, very different. But
that's one way of putting it.
I still think that they should have, cut it down on the comedy, made it more serious. Because I just really, 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 really They should just cut it down. And Netflix should just still have their sharing policy. No changes!
Not to get too off topic here. Anyway, so Herman and Lily, they go on a date. Before the date, like Herman wants to pick up, something special. So he buys her like flowers. He buys her lilies because her name is Lily. And even the grandpa comments on that. Oh, what a genius! He buys her lilies because, her name is Lily, and I thought that was hilarious. That's what I was thinking too. Anyway, and he buys her not a bottle of wine, but a bottle of blood because she's a vampire. And he's like, oh, give me the B positive or something like that. And he's like, no, you know what? To heck with it. I want to splurge. Oh, negative. And then of course there's a lady. This is the fictional Transylvania. So she. She's an outlandish blood lady selling blood, and of course she's playing it like wacky too. And then he tells her a joke too. I forget what the kind of money they used out there, but all right. But yeah, remember she's like, oh, it's like 3 whatever the currency is out there.
Oh, it's like, a lot of money.
Yeah, and he's like, ouch, the prices have gone up.
A lot of mucho dinero, I tell you what.
He's like,
mucho dinero.
All right. And he's like, ouch, the prices have gone up. He's like, remember I went and bought a balloon, and then it was expensive, and I thought, oh man, it's because of the inflation. Yeah, that was bad. That was a bad joke. That's the kind of stuff we're working with here. Anyway. So he goes to the castle where the Lily and the grandpa live and whatnot. They're Lily's dad. I don't know what. Yeah, I guess it's the dad, right? And he hates Herman. He thinks he's a moron, and he is. And Herman, by the way, is played so terribly.
I have no idea who, but he sounds like Jimmy Kennedy from Son of the Mask, which was a terrible and awful movie.
He reminds me exactly of Jamie Kennedy of Son of the Mask when he played the mask and he just did not know how to act. He was just so awful. And his voice, when you think of Herman Munster, Fred Gwynn had such a deep voice.
Kind of like a Barry White voice, but very deep.
This guy, let me see if I can pull up his name. But he was so high-pitched and whiny all the time.
He sounded like he had helium.
He reminded me of like Frank Grimes from The Simpsons or something, where he's like constantly.
Oh yeah, very good reference. He does sound like Frank Grimes.
Like, ooh, like how do I do this? Or I don't know. It was something weird, like some kind of weird cartoon clown man. Yeah, it was. I did not like the way he played Herman Munster. It was pretty bad. Let me pull up his name here. I never really heard of this guy, but his name was Jeff Daniel Phillips. And
Daniel Phillips.
It's not the Jeff Daniels. He would have probably played it better. But he's Jeff Daniel Phillips, and he played several roles in this movie. He also played Shecky, the awful comedian who they got the brain from. And he played another role, which we'll talk about later. His name is Zombo. He's like a TV personality. So I don't know. I didn't like the way he played it. I feel like they could have got something better. Although visually, I thought he looked, enough like Herman Munster. But the voice was very grating on my soul. But yeah. So. But yeah, so like I said, the grandpa did not like Herman.
Yep, it was a little controversy between, the grandpa doesn't like Herman Munster, but he's so funny, he's so wackadoo, who gives a shit?
I love that word. Anyway, Lily's kind of insulted, and so they decide to go off on their own and have like their own little date out on the town, and it just gets worse from here. They do karaoke. They're doing Sonny and Cher, I Got You, Babe. They say our love don't pay the ring. And anyway, I don't want to.
Go on.
And they're even dressed like Sonny and Cher.
Well, I got you, and baby, I got you. Well, I got you, babe. Oh yeah.
Random.
Yeah. So the whole sequence is to them singing "I Got You, Babe," just awful. And when they're going on a date, they're in a park and they're doing the typical date stuff. It's like a whole montage of awful. Yeah. And meanwhile, Grandpa's trying to do a potion to create a husband, like the perfect husband that will make her realize that Herman's a moron. And so he decides to put the spell together. He gets all kinds of things. He gets John Wayne's hat to give him some swagger. And then he gets, was it Fred Astaire and...
oh, yeah. Dun, dun, dun,
what is it? He gets like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers' shoe and throws it in there so he's a great dancer. And he gets a hair of Tarzan.
Very, very different, very random, but...
Whatever. You remember the scene, right, though? He supposedly gets like the chest hair of Tarzan to make him manly. But then what does he accidentally do?
He gets something else?
He gets the chest hair of Cheetah, the monkey. And it turns him into like a dancing cowboy monkey. And he realized he fucked up, and then he the monkey tap dances away, and then that's the end of that scene. And then it's like bizarrely sped up. It just makes you sick to your stomach a little bit. It's so awful. Do you remember that scene? Did you not see it?
Oh yeah, I remember it.
That was it was pretty bad. Pretty bad,
if
right?
If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, where don't you go where fashion sits? Put it on the wrist.
See, now that's how you do a comedic Frankenstein dance scene. This movie does nothing close to the comedic genius of Mel Brooks. Anyway, let's begrudgingly continue on. Herman tells during the date sequence, he proposes to Lily because that's where the story has to go. This whole movie is basically set up to get us where we are, essentially more towards the beginning of where the TV show starts. So it's like he's George Lucas. He thinks he's George Lucas trying to set up A New Hope, and this is his Revenge of the Sith. All right. But yeah, remember when he's on the date and then he proposes to her?
Yep.
And she says yes, right?
Yep. She says yes, and her Munster's like...
Yeah, this whole time he's just like... But he's just overly belated. And he goes to tell his parents, I guess you consider his parents, which is Floop and Henry. He goes to tell them, and then he does like this weird fake out thing where he acts, where Floop asks him like, "Did she say yes?" And then he looks all sad. And there's some point where he's like, "Oh, I knew she would say no. That no good fang banging." And then eventually, what's his name? Herman. He says she said yes. And then it doesn't quite catch up.
There was this scene in the Munsters Netflix series it said Lily told the grandfather, stick your fang, put your fangs where they belong, or stick your fangs in where they belong, because he was, the grandfather was acting a little bit more, Mr. Romantic.
Yeah, there's the kinds of hidden inappropriate stuff in this.
Innuendo stuff.
Yeah, but there's one funny scene where. So he goes to tell, I guess you can almost consider them his parents, where it's Floop and Henry. And, he does like this weird fake out thing where he kind of acts sad, like she said no. And Floop kind of gets insulted. She's like, he's like, I knew she would say no. And then I knew she was no good. And then he reveals that he was lying, and then she actually said yes, but it doesn't quite catch up with him yet. And so he's like, "Oh yeah, that no good fang bag," and he's like, "What?" Like a fucking Hanna-Barbera cartoon character,
Scooby Doo.
Yeah. Like, oh my god! Like, I just died. The more and more this movie goes on, I just keep dying inside. I'm trying to hold it together. It's just bad.
You're doing good.
What? Yeah. And then Lily tells Grandpa, because she walks in all happy, and she's doing a little dance, even though she's basically doing the same thing the whole movie with her hands floating around, and he's like, "Oh, what's that little dance about? Did you finally get rid of that no good Herman?" And she shows him the ring, and he faints. Yeah, he faints because he's disappointed. And then
Very, very
and
funny.
then finally they have the wedding, and it was whatever. They get married by the robot. I think that robot is part of the original series or something. I don't know. And apparently the voice of that robot, his name is the Tin Can Man, and the voice was played by Butch Patrick.
The legendary thespian actor.
Yeah.
What a great actor.
So I guess there was a little way. I feel like they should have actually physically incorporated him in there. Maybe he was too busy.
Surprise.
Maybe he realized how shit this movie was and he didn't want to be a part of it. Who knows? The mysteries continue.
Mysteries.
Anyway, I thought it was funny because I was browsing through the credits to see if I recognized any names and whatnot, and I saw Butch Patrick pop up, and just seeing who he played. There's a typo. There's a typo in the credits,
Which is random.
yeah, it just shows you the level of attention they put into this movie. So it says the voice of the Tin Can. It's supposed to be the voice of the Tin Can Man, played by Butch Patrick. Instead, it says the voice of the Tin Can Mant with a T at the end, and then they just left it in there.
Typo.
That just sums up this whole movie. That's how much they care.
So if you really want to watch this Netflix series, go watch it at your discretion. Discretion is advised, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So anyway, during the wedding, Herman runs into Lily's fast-talking Wolfman brother, who convinces him to sign over the deed to the castle, because apparently, Herman's the head of the household now, even though the grandpa should technically own the castle. So it doesn't make sense.
Yep.
But anywho, he's
Castle
an idiot.
Transylvania.
He's an idiot and he signs over. He signs over the castle to Zoya, and then later on, Zoya sends an eviction notice to Grandpa, who's pissed now. But meanwhile, Herman and Lily are on a honeymoon. They go to Paris with a bunch of bad green screens. There was one scene that did make me laugh, though. They go to this restaurant that has a mime and everything like that, and then everywhere they go,
Very funny.
everywhere they go, they scare off people because they're monsters, which is a running gag.
Yeah.
Which is a running gag in the show. And so they walk up on this restaurant. All the people get scared off. One lady faints in her soup.
Pretty good.
Yeah. And then the mime, he screams because he's scared. And it's funny. The one scene that made me laugh, when Herman walks up and he's like, "Wow, that's the loudest mime I've ever seen." And I thought that was just funny. That was the one scene that made me laugh out loud. Anyway, they're just still walking around, and they see a newspaper that says something about a monster.
Is his name Jeff Daniels Styles or
something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they see something about a monster haunting the sewers of Paris. So they decide to go down to the sewers, and they capture the monster, and they keep it as their pet, which turns out to be their pet Spot, who's a dragon. In the series. So it's a little backstory for that. They're trying to sum up everything to lead to the beginning of the show. Which is weird. And anyway, Grandpa, he decides to crash their honeymoon because he's pissed that Zoya now owns their castle. And so he goes to their hotel. And at first, Herman mistakes him for the guy, even though he's clearly Grandpa. He mistakes him for the guy bringing him the wine or whatever, the champagne. And then eventually he comes into the hotel, and he is not happy. So they got to figure out what to do. So they hire a lawyer, but the lawyer says they got no case, so they're kind of screwed. He says something like, "You're very musical today." So he says something. Wow. Anywho,
What?
he says something like they have a better chance of getting struck by lightning while being eaten by a shark under an eclipse of the moon or some shit like that, and so they have no hope. Or so it seems. Turns out Herman's watching TV. He sees on TV. It's like some kind of horror host. What's his name? Zombo.
Zombo.
He sees a horror host on TV.
Played by Jeff Daniels Styles.
Yeah, he's played by the guy who plays Herman. His name is Zombo, and then Herman Munster. He's like, I could be just as good as that guy. What if we moved to Hollywood and I can make the big bucks as a actor? And so they decided to pick up and move to Hollywood, and they just forget the whole plot line about them stealing their castle. And they set up everything with a realtor, and they go to see this house. And it's funny because the realtor is like, "Oh, don't be scared by my appearance. It's Halloween, so don't be afraid of the way I'm dressed." And then so anyway, they go on the airplane. All the people on they set them up on a first class flight, flight number 666. And it's funny because all the people are scared off of first class because they're monsters. And for some reason, Herman's drinking a Shirley Temple and gets drunk. I don't know if that's a bit from the show or.
I don't know. I mean, isn't the Shirley Temple kind of non-alcoholic?
Yeah, so that's I guess that's supposed to be the funny part. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that was a gag from the original show. I don't know, but I don't know. That's
I drank a Shirley Temple before, and it's non-alcoholic, so it's like it's basically like red
like
cherry 7-Up.
Yeah, pretty much. But the thing is weird that he got drunk off of it, and then the flight attendant, for some reason, like she doesn't seem scared or anything. Like she's bringing him drinks and whatnot. And then she decides
happy.
She decides to jump from the plane, although she has like a parachute on and a helmet. But she just jumps from the plane randomly, and then we cut to them landing. They meet up with the realtor dressed as a witch, and at first she gets scared of them because of their appearance, and she faints. But it's weird because it's Halloween. You think she would just assume that they're wearing a costume. But she faints for some reason because funny. And then anyway, she wakes up, and the grandpa wants to bang her. I think he thinks she's hot in that witch. In that witch outfit. I think they think it's not a costume because they had just happened to arrive on Halloween, and they see the neighborhood and everyone's dressed up for a big Halloween party, and they just assume that's the way everyone looks, all spooky and stuff. So they're happy because everyone looks all spooky, and they have a big Halloween party. They convince. Originally the lady was trying to show them like a typical normal house, and then there's like this big spooky mansion which turns out to be the Munsters house, and for the one from the TV show. And she's that was kind of like a big thorn in her side. No one wanted to buy it. They thought it was ugly and dilapidated, and they thought it was just lovely. And so Herman tried to convince her to sell it to them, and she was like, "It's yours. You can have it. I can't flip it for anything." And he of course he's dumb. He didn't hear her, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to take no for an answer." And then Lily's like, "Herman," she said yes. And then they're happy. They're happy with their creepy house. And they're partying at the Halloween party, and that's where Herman runs into his future employers at the mortuary, and that kind of sets up that whole thing with his job. And then eventually they go in for the night. They wake up the next day, and to their horror, everyone's normal. They didn't realize it was just Halloween.
Halloween.
They don't have Halloween out there in Transylvania. And so they're kind of concerned that their neighbors look so hideous, because that's a running gag on the original show.
What's a gag, of course?
They think normal people look scary, and they're the ones that are normal.
A little comical, little dry humor every now and then.
And then eventually, the brother, Lily's brother, the Wolfman, comes out of nowhere and says that he made the big bucks in Vegas. Remember, earlier I said how Zoya paid him off. For getting Herman to sign over the castle. She gave him money minus whatever he owed her, and then he decided to take that money to Vegas. Turns out he hit it big in Vegas, and he gave the money to the Munsters for all their troubles. And apparently it was like a huge sum of money. They never disclosed it. And then the movie literally ends with them being like, "We're rich." Woo! And then they run the world. And woo, you're intense today.
Yeah.
And then they roll the credits, and that's it. The movie just ends. That's it. There's no. They just decided to end it.
It's just they end on a high note.
Yeah.
Just like
if you want to call it
I'm gonna end on the high note.
Yeah. So they just decided to end it, and wow, that was the movie.
Very, very weird movie, but I give this movie a rental.
I mean, it's on Netflix, so you might as well.
I'll get a high rental.
I wouldn't.
Very high rental.
I would suggest. I mean, if you want to check it out, proceed at your own caution.
Proceed at your own caution.
It was bad, and it was just awful. And
in a way,
I wouldn't even watch it as a joke.
I would, but not really.
Once this review's over, this is the last I'm talking about it. Yeah, I just found it horrible. Horrible. I would give it a 1 out of 10.
I give it a 5.
A 5 out of what?
5 out of 10.
Okay, that's pretty. That's a lot higher than I would rate it. But that's like the lowest I've heard you rate a movie this whole time we've been doing the podcast. So I'll allow it.
It's my own personal opinion, guys. Don't worry. Be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely not recommend it. I mean, if you have Netflix already and
go and watch
you
it.
just hate yourself and you want to subject yourself to that kind of thing,
go
for it.
Watch it.
I can't tell you what to do.
For it, ladies and gentlemen.
And form your own opinion. This is just my opinion, man, and this is just his opinion.
Yep.
I'm not saying this is.
You don't have to take my word for it.
Exactly, like LeVar Burton says, but don't take my word for it. I'm going to steal that. Please don't sue me. Well, this has been an awful experience for me. Although a fun episode, just to kind of
very fun.
Watch this cringy movie.
But before we go, click the like button.
Yes, please.
Subscribe to this channel.
Like and subscribe for the
Click
love
the
of
link
God.
down below. And post your comments down below. And always subscribe to this channel.
Yeah.
And of course, subscribe to my channel.
Yeah.
And as always, keep on watching,
guys.
1 million subscribers, folks. We're almost to the Mucho. We're almost up to the Mucho.
We're not close to that, but we're
yet.
trying.
We're almost up, folks. So don't worry. But thank you guys. We are so grateful that you are watching this podcast. We're really grateful.